I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and perimenopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. You're tuned in to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and I'm so glad you're here. Maybe you're listening to this with your toes in the grass or with the windows down on a drive somewhere. Maybe you're folding laundry on a slow Sunday morning. Wherever you are, I just want to say welcome. Pull up a chair because I've been so looking forward to telling you about what I've lined up for you this summer. Here's the thing. Every season when I sit down to plan out the episodes I want to bring you, I ask myself one simple question. What are the women in my life, in my clinic, actually asking about? Not what's trending, not what some algorithm thinks will get clicks, but the real, honest, and sometimes whispered across the treatment table questions I hear over and over again. And I hear a lot of them. I hear them in clinic when a woman finally exhales and says, "Is this normal? Am I losing my mind?" Maybe she says to me, "I just don't feel like myself." I hear these questions in my DMs at 11 o'clock at night when someone can't sleep and types out the things she's been too embarrassed to say out loud to anyone else. I hear them in the comments, in the emails, in the hallway conversations after a talk. So this summer's lineup, it came straight from you. I went through the questions I get asked the most, the ones that keep coming back season after season, and I built this collection around those. The topics you've told me again and again that you really need answers on. The ones that don't get talked about enough or get talked about badly or get waved away with a shrug and, well, that's just menopause. Oh, you're getting older. You need to relax. Why don't you have a glass of wine and a massage? We're not doing that here. We never have. These subjects are close to my heart and I think close to yours. Beloved topics, the ones that matter. Some of these are our most popular conversations from over the years. The ones you've come back to, shared, and asked me about and to revisit. And they are more than due for a fresh look. And I've packed each one with the most relevant, useful information I could pull together, the kind of thing you could actually use, not just nod along to, because I see you and I believe you, and I want you walking away from every single one of these episodes feeling more like yourself, not less. So that's our summer. I cannot wait for you to hear it. Now, before we dive into this episode, I have a few little things I'm genuinely excited to share with you, so stay with me for just a moment. The first one I'm especially proud of. I have a brand new, totally free guide on brain health at menopause, and it's ready for you right now. If you've ever found yourself standing in the kitchen wondering why you walked in there, if the word you're looking for is suddenly just gone, if the brain fog that has you quietly worried in a way you haven't said out loud, this guide is for you. It's the conversation I wish every woman could have in one place, written with so much care. Written because this is the information and the tools I used to heal my own brain fog. You can grab it over at drlovely.com. That's drlovely.com. It's free, it's yours, and I'd love for you to have it. And while you're there, come get on the list for my newsletter. We call it Fiona's Friday Favorites. It comes out every 2 weeks, and honestly, it's become one of my favorite things to make. A little gathering of the things I'm loving, learning, cooking, reading, listening to, and thinking about. The stuff that doesn't always make it into an episode, but I want to pass along to you anyway. The way you text a good friend and say, "Oh, have you seen this? You have to listen." It is totally awesome if I do say so myself. Sign up at drlovely.com and I'll land in your inbox like a friend who happens to know a lot about menopause. Okay, one more thing to share. This is a big one because so many of you have asked. You want to know about becoming a menopause doula. I get this question constantly now. Women who've been through it themselves and want to turn that hard-won wisdom into something meaningful. Nurses, coaches, yoga teachers, mental health professionals, friends who everyone comes to for whatever is going on. The women who feel a pull towards this work and want to know, when can I learn more? And when is the door open? The answer is November 2026. This November, I'll be hosting a free information session, actually 2 of them, all about the Menopause Doula certification, what it is, what it means to do this work, what the training looks like, and whether it might be the next right step for you. No pressure ever, no commitment, just a chance to come listen and find out if this calling is yours too. If you want to be the first to know when these sessions open up and anything we decide to do that's fun pre-launch, here's what you need to do. Head to menopausedoulacouncil.com, drop in your email, and you'll be on the list. That's menopausedoulacouncil.com. I'd love to see your name there. So that's everything, my friend. Here's what I'm hoping for you this summer. I'm hoping you get some rest. I'm hoping you find a big patch of sun and let yourself sit in it. I'm hoping you feel less alone in whatever you're carrying right now, because you are not alone and you never were. And I'm hoping that some of these episodes find you right where you need them. I want you to know how much it means to me that you are here. Truly, there are 1,000 things you could be listening to, and you choose this. You choose to spend a little of your time with me, and that's not something I take lightly, not ever. You being here is the whole reason any of this exists. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a listener. Now go enjoy your summer, and let's get into it. You're listening to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. Let's begin. Hello, friends. You're tuned to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. And if you've ever wanted to hear more about how peptides can help you specifically, this is the conversation for you. Today, I have a discussion with Kyal Van Der Leest, naturopath, nutritionist, and founder and formulator of Level Up Health. And his specialty is peptides. Now, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot in the coming weeks and months because peptides are such a powerful health tool that we all have access to. So I'm educating as I always do, but then letting you know where you can get the formulations that we're talking about. These are things I'm taking myself. And I tell you, for women's health, for men's health too, for overall health, peptides, we're in this gorgeous space where we're just learning so much about how useful they can be. And let me tell you, chances are your medical practitioner, if they know about peptides, they won't likely be able to educate you much more than to say, go see what the internet has to say. And oh, by the way, we can't prescribe them. They're illegal, whatever. So this is my way of educating you because after all, isn't podcast just pirate radio? Okay, let me introduce my guest, Kyal Van Der Leest. He's an Australian nutritionist, naturopath, formulator, and founder of Level Up Health, a supplement company dedicated to bridging the gap between cutting-edge peptide science and holistic naturopathic and nutritional medicine. With Kyl's diverse multidisciplinary background and deep interest in peptides, naturopathy, and performance, Kyal has spent the last decade developing practitioner-grade supplements that body's innate capacity to heal, regenerate, and thrive. Level Up Health was formed to deliver cutting-edge results by combining peptides with botanicals and to push the supplement industry with innovation and new ways of thinking. Kyl's formulations and products are informed by years of his personal and professional experience navigating chronic health issues, from working with patients at a hyperbaric oxygen clinic, a naturopathic health food store, and personally having had to heal from burnout, EMF, and mold toxicity. This lived experience led him to explore advanced healing tools, leveraging peptides and new age nutraceutical ingredients to accelerate healing and deliver unprecedented power to his products. Outside of his work, Kyal is the father of 3, and you'll hear his kiddos in the background while we were chatting today, and currently based in New Zealand with his partner, where they live a lifestyle centered around wellness, conscious parenting, and global travel. Whether he's formulating a new product, collaborating with a researcher, or supporting others on their health journey, Kyal brings integrity, depth, and genuine desire to help people take control of their well-being. So we talk about everything from what is a naturopath to what is a peptide and why is everybody talking about them, and how we can use the peptide formulations to heal issues that we may have had that maybe we haven't been able to tackle, or long-term things like mold, or just many things. Just listen in. I want to share all the things with you, but then I remember this is just an introduction. You got to go hear the conversation. So without further ado, I'll stop talking and you can go and have a listen to my conversation. Oh, fascinating conversation with Kyal Van Der Leest. The AG1 you've all heard me talking about for so long just went through a major upgrade. AG1's next gen is here. It's the same single scoop once a day, but now it's clinically backed and formulated with more upgraded vitamins, minerals, and probiotics. The new next gen formula offers a more advanced, clinically backed formula that fills common nutrient gaps and supports gut health, all in the same easy once a day ritual. AG1 has been a game changer for my mornings. It sets the tone for my day, helps me feel my best, and like I'm taking care of my nutrient needs in one step. AG1's next gen includes 5 clinically studied probiotics and additional vitamins and minerals to support whole body health. Now clinically backed with an advanced formula, this is the perfect time to try AG1 if you haven't yet. I've been drinking AG1 daily for 6 years now, and I'm so happy to be partnering with them. Subscribe today and try the next gen of AG1. If you use my link, you'll also get a free bottle of AG D3K2, that's vitamin D3K2, an AG1 welcome kit, and 5 of the upgraded AG1 travel packs with your first order. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com. That's drinkag1.com/Fiona Lovely to get started with AG1's next gen and notice the benefits for yourself. That's drinkag1.com/Fiona Lovely. If your energy levels feel low and you're experiencing digestive issues like gas and bloating, even when eating healthy, nutritious foods, imagine how you might feel during the indulgence of the holiday season. Adding a high-quality enzyme supplement to your routine could make a big difference. I personally recommend Masszymes by Bioptimizers. It's a best-in-class supplement loaded with full-spectrum enzymes for digesting proteins, starches, sugars, fibers, and fats. After you start taking Masszymes, you may notice that you no longer feel bloated after meals and that your belly feels flatter. These powerful enzymes boost your energy by increasing metabolism of your food for fuel. And by improving digestion, your body has more resources to allocate for mental and cognitive function. I can definitely vouch for these enzymes. I take them myself, and they are powerful. For the entire month of November, Bioptimizers, the makers of Masszymes, are having a Black Friday sale, their best sale of the year. All month long, you'll get discounts with my unique code, plus access to up to $100 in free gifts with purchase. You can only get this exclusive deal through my link, special for the audience of the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. You won't find this on Amazon or even on the company website. Go to bioptimizers.com/lovely and use code LOVELY to get your discount and free gifts today. All Bioptimizer supplements are best in class. If you don't agree, you can get a full refund for up to 1 year after your purchase, no questions asked. Again, the link to go to right now for this exclusive deal is bioptimizers.com/lovely using the code lovely. Links in the show notes. This is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and my guest today is, I'm so excited about this one, guys. Kyal Van Der Leest, naturopath, nutritionist, founder and formulator of Level Up Health, is talking to me and you guys today on the subject of peptides. Kyal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fiona. Thank you for having me. And yeah, let's get into talking about peptides. I love them.
Are we both as excited about peptides? I mean, really, this is the thing. This is the modern thing that really, I think, is bringing in a whole other level of conversation around health. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really happy that peptides are sort of becoming the mainstream, even if GLP-1s are the way that they're becoming more mainstream. Like, they're very powerful in their effects. There's Ozempic, Mounjaro, tirzepatide, retatrutide. All these ones are having life-changing transformations in a lot of people. Everyone knows someone who's been on one of those drugs and seen how much weight they've dropped. So that tells you how powerful peptides are. Prior to that, insulin is a peptide too that diabetics have been using literally to stay alive. So these things are incredible, and there's so many of them that people don't really know about. And yeah, it's really an exciting time to be in this space of peptides, provided we can still maintain access to them going forward.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be a golden age of functional medicine.
Yes, I love it. Those are great words. I mean, I'd heard about peptides sort of around the fringes. I remember A4M talking about them a few years ago and didn't know anything about them. And then I came across an episode that you recorded with Dr. Tina Moore, the Dr. Tina podcast. Dr. Tina, of course, has been on the show. She's a friend of the show, and it really just blew my mind. And I remember thinking, I have got to have Kyal on the show. I wonder if he's open to having a discussion with me on this little teeny menopause show in my corner of the internet. So thank you again for saying yes to the invitation. Let's dig into this peptides conversation. But before we do, please let us know, how is it you found yourself a naturopath?
Well, I was actually studying to be a graphic designer back in 2012, and my mum got a breast cancer diagnosis. So that changed the whole trajectory of my life. Thankfully, I don't think I would have enjoyed being a graphic designer as my primary job, especially how things have worked out. But with her diagnosis, it didn't really like the whole, let's just see what happens. You know, you've got stage 4 breast cancer. Your odds of surviving 5 years are like very low. If you look it up, it's less than 3%. So I'm like, okay, I'm not okay with this. I love my mum. Food is medicine. That was always something that had been instilled in me my whole life. So I decided to go and study human nutrition to try and regain some level of control over this disease, with dietary interventions. Like, we looked into ketogenic diets, and we looked into all the ingredients in foods that were actually the medicine. Like, all right, if food is medicine, what is the medicine within the medicine, or the active ingredient that elicits these responses? That's how I got into supplements, is basically through green tea. That was the first one I studied, and the ECGC, and then started supplementing that in isolation, and then adding things on things to the point where you've got dozens of supplements that you're taking every day for like interventional purposes with my mum. But then, like, the curiosity expanded beyond just helping her with her health. It's like, well, I've learned about how this can help cancer, but my goodness, it's going to really help me in my exercise performance, in my basketball, in my gym, and all these other things. So that's how I got into supplements. But yeah, I studied nutrition, and then after that realized how much I didn't really feel equipped to help people. So I went and studied naturopathic medicine in Australia, which, thank goodness I did that. That was an amazing degree. Anyone considering studying naturopathy or chiropractics, definitely do it. It's some of the best education you'll ever get in your life, for your whole life too. Even if you don't study it, the tools and the ideologies and, the healing power of nature philosophy is going to serve yourself and everyone that you know. If you get passionate enough about it, they won't be able to avoid your conversations. But yeah, how did I get into peptides? Well, when I graduated from my nutrition degree and was studying to be a naturopath, my first ever professional job in the space was working in a hyperbaric oxygen clinic in Melbourne, Australia. And opposite the clinic was a compounding chemist. And a lot of the patients would come in with cancers. The reason I got this job too is we did hyperbaric, hundreds of hours of hyperbaric therapy with my mum for her cancer. So I was like a fly on the wall. I was always there at the clinic with her, and the director's lovely guy, incredibly intelligent, has spent a lot of time helping me and training me indirectly just by me knocking on his door all the time, being a pain in his butt. But I got the job there, and we started helping people with the hyperbaric treatments. And then I'd ask them, what are you taking? What's your protocol look like? How are you dealing with your Lyme disease? How are you improving your athletic performance? Or how are you targeting or trying to rectify or support your chemotherapy or your cancer journey? And peptides kept coming up with these clients, because they were always the thing that if I asked them what's been the most impactful thing for your health and your health journey, and they'd say, oh, this peptide's been incredible, or that peptide, or I've tried BPC, or I've tried, I'm on insulin potentiated chemo, or any of these other things. Like it opened up Pandora's box for me of like, all right, what are these peptides? And then you see there's like hundreds of them that you've never heard about before, and they all sound like Star Wars droid names or some weird combination of letters and numbers, and it's a bit hard onboarding your education on them, remembering them. But once you do, you won't forget them, because the benefits of them are amazing. There's an incredible number of amazing peptides. BPC 157's the one that does the most and is gaining the most, I guess, widestream popularity because of people like Andrew Huberman, Rhonda Patrick's spoken about it, Joe Rogan, and most people have heard of BPC now. And recently, I guess the new pharmaceutical advancements with GLP-1s has got them mainstream as well. But yeah, that's how I got my start, and how I, all of the things that went into my knowledge was basically trying to help my mum. And yeah, later on I had personal health challenges with mold too, so I learned even more in that one. But yeah, those were the two big drivers for my education and where I am now.
Okay, we got to have the mold conversation, because we have that as a shared experience. How's your mom now?
She passed away from radiation therapy, not cancer, interestingly. But anyway, yeah,
Wow.
she survived 8.5 years with a stage 4 diagnosis. So that tells you the power of alternative therapies.
Yes.
So much we did wrong during that journey too, which, in retrospect, you look back with the knowledge you have now, you kind of beat yourself up a little bit, but you don't, because you're doing the best you knew how to do at the time.
Sure.
But yeah, all the hyperbarics, the intravenous therapies, alternative off-label cancer treatments, all those things did amazing things for my mum, way more than the chemotherapies or the standard of care things that she did ever were capable of doing, and exceeded all expectations. But we actually moved house after she bet her cancer.
Yeah.
Wasn't in remission by that stage, but it was all accounts were low, and we moved to about 50 meters, or let's say like 80 feet, 90 feet away from a huge cell phone consignment, a huge cell phone tower with about 180 different frequencies of RF coming off it. We all got sick, and then mum actually ended up developing brain cancer from that exposure, which really sucked, because we'd just beaten breast cancer, but she was so depleted from, years of doing all of the things, natural or mainstream. It's all pretty depleting, because you have to do a lot of oxidative therapies to kill it. And yeah, I think the combination of that in the house led to this really unfortunate situation where she got brain cancer. And that's ultimately the radiation from that is how she passed. But yeah,
so it wasn't radiation from cancer treatment. It was radiation from the cell phone tower.
It wasn't the radiation from the cell phone tower. I'll just be clear. I think that's what caused it. But the radiation from the treatment was so taxing on her body. It elicited, it made no benefit. And she just become sarcopenic, not sarcopenic, cachexic, and ended up having a hip fracture. And then once in hospital on morphine, they did their thing that they do. And yeah, that's how she passed. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if it was 7 years ago now, I'm good with it. And all the silver linings that have come from that journey, all the learnings, all of the I guess, fight that I have against the mainstream system comes from that journey. So making sure that with the tools that I develop with Level Up, with all the education I'm putting out there, people can hopefully never get their health to a stage where you require, you're fighting a terminal diagnosis. So that's my
Absolutely.
purpose.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that's vulnerable, share. So thank you for those details. And we have some things in common here because I've had a parent pass from cancer who we actually found it happened really fast. And then we found raging mold in his house. And I can't help but wonder if that's not somehow connected to not exactly the same scenario, but seeing as how we mentioned mold in the same and a mother who was diagnosed with Parkinson's around the same time, living in that same house. And then I stayed in the house one night and got sick, and that's how we found the mold. So it's
Mhm.
I think the reason why I'm bringing that up is because there's just a whole lot of things that you and I have just had a discussion about or listened to you talk about that I think the average listener is going, I have to worry about a cell phone tower? Well, why is mold a problem? What,
Mhm.
like there's a whole, how do I get brain cancer from this? So I think the first thing I want to say is if there's anybody listening that has had or is currently experiencing cancer or having a cancer diagnosis, understand that a naturopath can help you with the traditional therapies if you want to get the traditional therapies but want the natural approach as well, or a naturopath can take over. We have naturopathic oncologists here in Canada. I don't know if that's a worldwide thing, Kyle. Do you have anything to say about that?
Australia, no, not going to happen there, but America and Canada for sure.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, in my opinion, so if you had cancer and you're in Australia, you should probably just leave it and get the things that you need because in my experience with mum, everything we wanted to do, there was so much friction and arguments and
Yeah.
like, well, look at this study, look at this mechanism. It didn't matter. It was
Didn't
whether they
matter.
were allowed to do it or not, which even the best meaning ones were too scared because they'd just have their licenses revoked. So
Yep. Yep. And that's really what it comes down to. And as I told you from off the top of this conversation, I'm a shit disturber by nature. So I just want to say that it's okay for you to take your own role back in a cancer treatment. And you can say to your doctor, I want to look at some alternatives. This is true in Canada. I imagine it's true in the United States as well. You do have options. So search in your area for a naturopathic oncologist, go that route, or talk to your favorite functional medicine practitioner, whether it's a chiropractor or an acupuncturist, whatever. Ask them who in the neighborhood is it can help out with a cancer diagnosis from the natural point of view, and then you can get all the options.
exactly right. Like there's no perfect one modality to cure it. It's a combination of all the things and including environmental things as well. If you're living in the mold and you're doing everything right, naturopathic and chemotherapeutic and oncology perspective, it's probably not going to work that well because as you touched on mechanistically, mold toxin plus EMF toxin plus glyphosate and all these
Yeah.
other things, there's no one thing I don't think that causes cancer. I think it's a death by a thousand cuts. The straw that breaks the camel's back was the
Yeah.
radiation from the tower that we live next to. But as I
Mhm.
said prior to that, she was already depleted. She grew up in farmland, had huge amounts of glyphosate and
Yeah.
toxins and heavy metals. All the things led to that point. So again, leading back to the why, it's like, well, I don't have it now. You don't have it now. So let's focus on improving our health, getting rid of all of the things, not just to reduce our risk of getting a disease, but to improve our health. Because what ultimately helps someone, fight cancer helps with your mitochondrial health. It helps with your energy. It's all about restoration of the body from a
Yep.
holistic perspective, and then it should all trickle down from
Yep.
there.
Yep. Okay, let's go back to peptides. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
We want to empower people when listening to this conversation between the two of us who work from the natural perspectives, but we've seen all the stuff that happens in the industry behind us, right? And it's hard not to get jaded when you see that, isn't it, Kyle?
Yeah, it is, especially with the current legislation. And there used to be bans on peptides, but now they're kind of lifting. Slash, the compounding chemists in America are not caring as much about it. Now, not to get political, but having RFK in America has really helped the cause. I think they'd probably be gone if it wasn't for him. But yeah, big picture
Interesting.
of what
Interesting.
peptides are, we could start there.
Yes. Let's
Not
go there.
discussed that
Please.
before.
Yes. You're an expert of peptides. What in heaven's name is a peptide?
Peptides are chains of amino acids. Let's go ridiculously simple with the analogy. If amino acids are little pieces of one by one Lego, peptides are just this small little construction of a few pieces. It can be 2 to 3 little pieces of Lego or amino acids bound together. And then when they're bound together, they become a chain. That chain has effects within your body. It can be as simple as KPV, KP, and V. They're the three amino acids that are bound together. And then they absorb through your gut or through your skin or through nasal sprays or injection, and then they go on to interact with your biology. The way I describe how peptides work is they're messengers. They speak the language of your body because your body makes them themselves. When you're taking herbs, they're really powerful and they do interact with your body's machinery. They do work on certain pathways, but herbs are like a foreign language to the body with a lot of hand gestures and a lot of sign language. You can convey the message not being fluent in the language or not having it be the same. Like Spanish versus English, there'd be a lot of similarities and you'll be able to, get the message across probably. Versus peptides speak the actual exact language, and then pharmaceuticals, they're not even trying to use language. They're just physically moving the human to do the thing rather than talking to it. So that's my analogy for how peptides, naturopathics, and pharmaceuticals all feed into how the body works. But simply put, insulin's a peptide, oxytocin's a peptide, glucagon, GLP-1, BPC's made in your stomach acid. These are all things our body makes itself and uses for many different reasons in the body. So when we take them as injectables or as capsules, it's not like we're taking a molecule from Mars. We're not taking something foreign that has toxicity. The body knows what to do with them. And if it doesn't need them, they don't do anything harmful. So that's why I really like them. And obviously, with the background that I explained with my mum's cancer journey, I'd never recommend or use a product, even though they are technically experimental at this stage. I'd never recommend or sell anything that has the ability to harm anyone. And there's a lot of people worried about peptide safety, and there's a lot of valid concerns there. But when you take them as a oral capsule, a lot of those safety concerns are mitigated. And it just really depends on your peptide knowledge. There's a lot of cowboys out there sort of recommending all these huge, big injectable dosage protocols and going a bit silly. And even with GLP-1s, like they're not naturopathic. They're not what nature makes. They're modifications to what our body has that is pharmaceutical, because they hang around for up to a week in your body, which is not how peptides would work naturally. So that's the difference between a natural peptide and a pharmaceutical one. And yeah, that's my little summary.
Yeah, I love that. There's two things I want to ask you about. So basically, what you're saying is, I think it's really good information for anyone listening to hear. If peptides are so useful, why are they not available to everyone via pharmaceuticals? And you have to understand that that is an industry. Anything that occurs naturally cannot be patented, which means there's not money in it. So it needs to be modified, which is what Kyle's just said. So the GLP-1 medications, that's like your Ozempic, Mounjaro, of course, GLP-1 and GIP. And then, of course, we've got retatrutide coming, which is another peptide, but that one is glucagon as well, the tri. Is it triple agonist, I think is what we're calling it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they're even putting out quadruple ones now where they include like IGF-1 and muscle sparing things. They're going really hard on these at the moment because, the wave's at its peak at the moment, and it's a
Yes.
almost $1 trillion industry to try and,
Yes.
make some money out of. So they're all
Yeah.
heavily investing in it, which is both exciting but concerning at the same time, because my opinion on the whole thing is they're going to try and make them all drugs. They're going to try and reclassify them to biologics and then ban the natural ones, modify the natural ones to become a pharmaceutical, i.e. they just modify the structure or put some end point on it to then make that the only thing that's accessible. It's going to be a lot harder in America than it would be in Canada or Australia for that to happen. But in the short term, there really needs to be a public demand for these things. So we've got a nice little wiggle room of, I guess, 3 years while Kennedy's kind of keeping all that stuff at bay.
Right.
But if he leaves, then I have big concerns for the future of peptides. I think it will be monopolized by big pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, so you happen to be the founder and formulator of Level Up Health, which actually makes peptide formulas in oral capsules, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so peptide bands, are those just the injectables or are the orals going to be under the same ban? What have you
They
seen?
could it could all be under the same banner. It depends on the classification, but the ban that happened, I think last year or earlier this year, was only for compounding chemists, which was a really silly way of doing it. It was definitely last year, where only compounding chemists weren't allowed to prescribe BPC and a list of other ones. But again, as I mentioned, most of them don't care anymore and are starting to do it.
Yeah.
We're not a compounding chemist. We are technically a research chemical company, which is a dirty word in the industry, but we're doing it right. So there's plenty of people who aren't, which is concerning, and I guess why there's a justifiable
Yep.
resistance to that. But yeah, in capsules is different to injectables. The risk
Yeah.
profile to an injectable capsule versus injectable peptide versus an oral capsule is significantly lower. If you're in,
Interesting.
if you're
Say more.
injecting a if you're injecting a peptide and anything else in that injection, 100% of it's getting into your circulation, right? Like that's just how it works. A capsule, it might be as low as 20% of what you take actually gets absorbed. Things like curcumin, for example, or naturopathic ingredients, NAC, creatine, have terrible absorption, but that's okay so long as we take a dose high enough where we get a therapeutic amount. Even if it's like 90% of it just goes through you, that 10% that absorbs is going to have the effect. Peptides like GHKCU, it's used in skincare. It's fantastic for anti-aging, for collagen networks, longevity. That has a poor bioavailability of only 15 to 20% in a capsule, but if you inject it, you're getting 100%. The risks to injecting are there's a lot of black market or gray market companies selling these peptides, and they might be, you don't know what you're getting essentially.
That's scary.
And
That's
you'd
scary.
want to anything whatsoever that you're injecting into your body, you want to know what it is, because your body's going to have to deal with all of it. So if there's any heavy metal contamination, any bacterial contamination, 100% of those metals, all those bacteria are going to be injected, and they can definitely and do, from many reports, cause inflammatory response syndromes to that, histamine reactions. And then from a naturopathic perspective, there's one thing I don't want in my body, and that's heavy metals, which some of them are contaminated with. So if your peptides are cheap, they're probably nasty, because these things are not cheap to make. They're custom synthesized. They are not a cheap raw material. And if you're paying only like $20 for a peptide vial of BPC, you're not getting what you think you are.
Okay, interesting. By the way, what does this term gray market mean? I've heard it before.
Black market, I guess, is illegal stuff. It'd be testosterones, and gray markets are like, I guess
It's
peptides
like
fit into that.
psilocybin is in that gray market, I think, in
I
Canada.
would say
Sorry.
so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely. It's things that aren't 100% unanimously safe and approved. Like if you imported it into your country, they might ask you some questions or maybe not allow it, but there's definitely plenty of people using these things. Even in New Zealand, like
Interesting.
melatonin's a grey market thing over here. It's a bit ridiculous. So it's,
Melatonin. Interesting.
yeah, you have to
Okay.
have a script for it. You can't just buy it online and bring it in. So there's so
Really?
many things that just get put into the grey market. And in my opinion, everything in the grey is there for control purposes, or there might just be a risk profile that's not been established yet. And I think peptides are fit maybe into both of those, because some peptides do have risk profiles. We don't sell any of them with Level Up, but there's certainly some risk to, using peptides.
Right. And as you said, none of those things are in your formulation. So let's use one of your formulations as an example of how, let's say, a listener who's hearing our conversation goes, well, how do I use them? This is all fascinating, guys, but I don't really care about the legalities of it. How and why would I use them? So let's talk about the Ultimate GI Repair, please.
Yeah, sure. So Ultimate GI Repair, as the name suggests, repairs your GI tract. There's an ingredient in that formula for everywhere in your body, be it your stomach, your small intestines, large intestines. There's even things that directly feed the cells of your gut and targets leaky gut. The reason it's in a capsule is a concept called pharmacokinetics. So basically, you're delivering the peptide and the materials that are in the capsule directly where you'd want them. The advantage of injectable peptides, let's say you've got really pure, high quality ones. If you have an injury in like your wrist or in your elbow and you inject that peptide locally, then you're going to get 100% of that peptide in the area of effect. GI repair is a capsule that's delayed release and allows these peptides to survive the stomach acid and get to the gut lining and elicit all the benefits of these peptides, which are improved accelerated healing, collagen network synthesis, angiogenesis, which is new blood vessel formation. So it helps with oxygen delivery and waste removal, anti-inflammatory effects, all so many good things for the health of your gut you're going to get from these peptides and the ingredients in that formula.
Amazing. Was that your first formula?
That was my third. The first was just BPC capsules by itself with
So let's talk.
L-glutamine of all things. It's evolved quite a lot since then, but BPC was the first one I ever tried when I was working at that clinic. It really helped with my recovery from gym. It helped with my gut health. I've honestly lived in and out of mold for the last, 10 years. So gut health was something that I struggled with quite a lot. And then neurological health too. My mum at the time when I started trying it, it just passed. So I was under a lot of burnout, a lot of stress, and it really helped with my brain health as well. So that was the first product ever made. BPC it's just so easy to get a benefit from that particular ingredient because it does so many things. It increases growth hormone receptor density. So that's how it can help with recovery from gym, helps with, indirectly in a lower mechanism, but can help with muscle gain and that. It has a GABAergic effect in the brain, so it actually helped with anxiety a little bit. It increases dopamine receptor density, so it actually really helped me resensitize my dopaminergic system because at the time, a compensatory mechanism for my passing was a heap of gaming video games, so I was pretty burnt out in the dopamine system. And I had some niggling little injuries in my knee from basketball. I've been playing that for like 15 years, and all of that just went away when I started taking it. It was pretty amazing from that perspective. So yeah, it does gut health, recovery, brain health, even dental health, bone healing. There's so many different things that this peptide does that it's little wonder that they're trying to ban it. And they've actually recently banned it in sport because it, quote, elicits an unfair advantage, which is a bit silly. But yeah, that's just goes to show how awesome this peptide is.
How powerful it is. We are, of course, talking about BPC 157, correct?
Correct. That's the one.
Which stands for body protection compound. Is that right? All right.
Exactly.
And it is the gateway peptide other than GLP-1s for a lot of people. Is that right?
100%, yes. If you take it, as I said, most people, or 9 out of 10, even 99 out of 100 are going to get some benefit. Maybe you're taking it for a distal injury or recovery benefits, and that might not happen, but you will definitely get an improved digestive function. Or maybe you are taking it for your gut health, but then you notice, well, by improving the gut health, the immune system's calmed down, and then you're less inflamed, and your body's, you're not getting sick as often, or even your liver health can improve by sealing up the gut lining. All of the things in the lumen of your gut, all the, bacterial toxins, all the food toxins don't absorb as readily and then hit your liver and burden it that way. So that peptide is so, it's so multi-mechanistic in its benefits that pretty much everyone's going to get some level of benefit from it. It mightn't be the one they expect, but they'll get it if they're in tune with their body and aren't doing things that are very destructive to their health. That's for sure.
Yeah, interesting. So I've been taking the Ultimate GI Repair, which you said is kind of like the next level from the BPC 157, the original formulation you had. And I'm amazed I figured got stuff. By the way, gluten intolerant, have been for 12 years. Absolutely avoid it, except for when I went to France this summer and then I ate all the gluten and had zero reaction. I mean, let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
So obviously the solution is I need to move to France or Italy or something. But I had forgotten just how good bread was. Anyways, so I sort of expected that I may feel some gut related benefit of it. But what I find really interesting is that my brain is working better.
Mm.
And I couldn't explain it until you just talked about the reset of the dopamine system, is what I wrote down here. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Oh, well, it would be the receptors. Basically, the BPC acts to restore the receptor density. So, how many receptors for dopamine you have in your brain. There's other ingredients that do it too, but BPC is fantastic for that. So, it's actually got a lot of clinical anecdotes of it helping with addiction and withdrawals from drugs. So, that's another side off label use, I guess, that I'm seeing and talking to practitioners in America using it for. The other
Yes.
way it helps with the gut is a lot of people might be aware of the gut brain connection, right? Like if your gut is your second brain, and if your gut is inflamed all the time, then you're going to have an inflamed brain. One of the primary clinical markers of inflammation in the gut is a they look at a protein called zonulin, and zonulin is
Mhm.
directly inflammatory, indirectly inflammatory in that creates intestinal permeability, or what you know as leaky gut.
Leaky gut. Yeah.
When things leak in from the gut, the immune system has to respond to that. Chronic leaky gut is associated with every single autoimmune condition known to man.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the same zonulin protein that opens up your gut lining binds to many sites in your body. It's not just in your gut where you have tight junctions, you have them in your brain too. It's called the blood-brain barrier. So think of the combination of a leaky gut leaching toxins into your bloodstream, causing an immune reaction, which then you have a leaky brain, and then those toxins and then the inflammation then affects your brain. Your mood's going to be terrible. You're going to have brain fog. You're going to not be thinking clearly. And in my opinion, a leaky blood-brain barrier is a very
Trouble.
bad thing to have for your future health, prevention of Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative conditions. You need
Mhm.
to have an intact blood-brain barrier. And yeah, there's so many things disrupting that. Alcohol does it. Glyphosate, especially
Mhm.
glyphosate and gluten together, which is how you find it usually in the West.
Yep.
Those things impair the gut lining, and therefore downstream via that zonulin will open up your blood-brain barrier and inflame your brain, which so many people nowadays will have an inflamed brain. But mold will do that
Yes.
as well. Mold is like a Stanley knife or a box cutter to your gut lining. Way worse than even glyphosate, in my opinion. That's sort of as far as things that cause gut health issues. Having lived with mold for so long, I felt like a bit of an imposter having all these gut repair
Mhm.
products, taking them and not really gaining any traction with my repair protocols. And it wasn't until I was out of mold that I'm like, oh, yeah, good. I'm not bloating anymore. I don't have any pain or any issues with my digestion anymore. So, yeah, mold's a huge part of it. And if you want to loop it back to how, you think mold was a contributor to cancer, well, mold will be directly inflammatory. It will open up the gut lining, let in all the toxins from your diet, open up the blood-brain barrier, and it's
Yeah.
just a huge
Terrible.
inflammatory cascade of effects that it causes. So mold is becoming a huge issue because of what I mentioned earlier too, which is EMF, electromagnetic frequencies from your cell phones, from Bluetooth, from your Wi-Fi router and the big cell phone consignment towers. It's been proven that stresses mold. It's a stress to our body, but not as much as it is to mold. And when it's exposed to these frequencies, the stress response of mold causes it to proliferate and grow faster. It's a survival mechanism for the mold. So now we're having and seeing so much mold toxicity in the world, heaps of clients of Tina's and all the other functional medicine practitioners in America that I've spoken to, they're seeing it pop up all the time, to the point where it's almost 50% of people that they're dealing with disease issues have mold as an underlying cause or
Which
an
is,
underlying factor.
it's nuts. And I've wondered, as a functional medicine practitioner myself, why it is we're seeing so much mold. I figured it was awareness, but I had not considered the EMF part of this. And so, as all of these 5G towers were going up while we were shut down during COVID, all of a sudden now there's this explosion of mold happening. And even before that, it was certainly happening. And I live in a pretty dry area of the world. The relative humidity around here is about 25%. And so to me, it's shocking that there would even be mold anywhere around. I think of it as a coastal kind of thing, but it turns out it can pretty much show up and grow anywhere.
It can, and the main driver of it isn't EMF. It would be new building practices, building homes on the cheap, using cheap materials. Even fungicidal paints have created like a fungus resistance to it, where only the most virulent molds are actually surviving the fungicidal paint. So not
Wow.
having good ventilation, all of those sort of things. But it's usually a leak of some description in the home that's the primary driver of it. So you're lucky to have relative humidity of 25. I don't think I've ever lived in a conditions where it's less than like 50% most of the time. So we're always
Yes,
up against it in my life.
except I go through a shocking amount of lip balm and hand lotion, let me tell you. And I think everybody I know has some form of dandruff because it's so dry here. But anyways, okay, so let's come back to peptides. So
Yes.
in the ultimate GI repair, because we are having a broad conversation about what causes issues with the gastrointestinal system, which is extremely common. You and I know this because we see it in our patients every day. People come to me with joint pain, and I'm like, actually, your problem is your gut. That's what's causing the joint pain because there is a direct line between leaky gut and the synovium, so which is the fluid inside the joint. So, what else is in the formulation, and what is it doing in terms of repairing the gut?
Yeah, so there's 4 peptides in it. There's the BPC, which I've mentioned all the mechanisms and how well that works. There's a peptide called lorazepatide, which the zonulin protein that I mentioned before,
Yeah.
the one that causes the leaky gut. Lorazepatide is a peptide that inhibits that protein from binding to the receptor site. So it's a zonulin antagonist. It's colloquially called the anti-celiac peptide. It's been studied
Oh.
celiac disease to, yeah, if you've had a gluten exposure, if you're celiac and you've had a gluten exposure, you know how long that can actually knock you out of action
Yes.
for.
Yes.
It's been used for post gluten exposure, or even if you're going to have gluten because you just decide, effort, I'm in France, I'm going to have a croissant.
Exactly. That's a good place to have gluten. I'm just saying. They
Yeah,
do a pretty good job with it over there.
yeah, but if you know you're celiac and you've been exposed, or there's a high chance, it's a really good one to have as like a medicine cabinet sort of thing to rectify the damage from it. But also quercetin is nature's antihistamine. It's in that formula. We use 2 forms, EMIQ, which absorbs 40 times better than the other form of quercetin. So that has a systemic antihistamine effect, seals the blood-brain barrier as well, which is an indirect target, but and then the regular quercetin forms, which don't have very good bioavailability. Neither does turmeric, neither do a lot of the things we take for gut health, but that's good. We don't necessarily pharmacokinetically want those things in circulation as much as we want them to be acting locally on the gut. If your naturopath's given you turmeric, for example, or curcumin, there's so much emphasis on make sure it's with black pepper or make sure it's Mariva. Well, that's good for the systemic inflammation. But if you're targeting gut health, then I actually prefer you don't use those things. So it coats the lining of your GI tract, and the anti-inflammatory effects are on the enterocytes and the colonocytes of your gut. So that quercetin form is in that, as well as a fuel for the lining of the gut called tributyrin, which is a short chain fatty acid supplement.
That's what we
Tributyrin.
get from butter, right?
Yeah, exactly. Butter and fiber. When we eat fiber, if we have the right gut bacterial populations, they basically chew it up, spit out the short chain fatty acids, which then go on to feed our gut. So that's how good forms of fiber can help with
And
gut health.
people, we're not talking about margarine here. If you are using margarine, just stop listening.
Yes,
Butter
exactly.
only, right? Unless you have a dairy issue, and then it's fine to find something different, but still not margarine, please. Anyway, sorry, Kyle, go on.
Ghee's pretty good if you got dairy issues.
Yeah.
It's clarified. Go that instead. But yeah,
Yeah.
tributyrin, butyric acid, they're all amazing short chain fatty acids, which feed the cells of the colon, the enterocytes, colonocytes. Giving them fuel allows them to repair themselves, whilst synergistically the peptides are coming in, triggering a lot of the repair and growth factors and all the things that go into the recovery of your GI tract, while the lorazepatide keeps them together. And then zinc alcarnosine. Alcarnosine's amazing as an anti-inflammatory, and zinc is required for repairing gastrointestinal tract health and reducing leaky gut too. So there's a lot of things working together to basically net this effect of reducing and sealing up the gut. That's it, simply in one sentence how that product works.
Well, I'm excited to report this back to you when I get the chance, but I've had one of my inflammatory markers has been high, no matter what other things my nurse practitioner and I have been working on. Like, is it from a hidden infection in my mouth? Is it a root canal thing? And we've just decided it has to be gut. But now I have labs, my functional medicine labs are to be taken at the end of this month. So I'm really curious after I'll have been on the, yes, exactly. I'm really curious to see if that's gone down because, of course, that will then confirm that it's likely gut based. We've checked all the other boxes. It's one of those. So, what you've just described about lorazepam, did I say that right?
Yep, you got it.
You called it an anti-celiac peptide.
Yeah, exactly.
And what did you say it does with the zonulin? It blocks the zonulin at the receptor?
Exactly. It's an antagonist to zonulin, meaning zonulin can't elicit its effect because someone else is sitting in the seat. So it can't sit down and cause
Oh.
the effect. That's how antagonists work. And that's what lorazepam does to zonulin.
Okay, and so what we're talking about, zonulin, is an indicator that there is a leaky gut situation because those tight junctions have now opened up. So that just blew my mind because I want to bathe in this now, all right? But this is one of my favorite things about peptides is that you don't take them continuously. It's
Exactly. Every
Mhm.
product I've made is naturopathically an interventional thing. It's not something you need all the time. And frankly, they're so powerful that you shouldn't need them all the time. If you need them all the time, you got to look to environment, to relationships, the other things. The things that a supplement's not going to fix. Like I said, I was living in mold. I was on it all
Yeah,
the time. I didn't get resolution. So, not to cop out the product a little bit like it sounds like I'm doing, but they really are. It was
yeah.
designed for my housemate who had Crohn's disease. I looked at every ingredient I could fit in a capsule, 4 peptides, the tributyl and the quercetin. Let's throw it in there. Everything, all of those have been well studied for reducing leaky gut and helping in those disease models. Let's see what happens. So it's designed for that. If you don't have IBD, then this is a very powerful product for you that you might not even need the full serving, or once every 6 months should be enough to sort of remedy some of the low level gut issues that you might be having.
So, and you're talking about taking an entire bottle's worth, or you take 4 weeks worth, or, like every 6 months for low grade. Is that what you're saying?
There's no one size fits all for it, but if I could just say, hey, look, if I had to dose this for everyone, I'd say one bottle, just do the full one capsule in the morning, one at night, do that for the whole month, and then you should be fine. Like if you're doing markers, calprotectin, zonulin, CRP, looking at all those ones, they
Yeah.
should reduce from that. No promises, but they should. And then that should just be enough. And it's the same with other peptides you use. They are very powerful. They trigger things way beyond. The peptides don't have a long half-life in the body, meaning your body clears them or breaks them down pretty quickly. But the
Mhm.
downstream effect of that, once it's got in, it's bound to the receptors, it's triggered all these cascades and all these growth factors and all of the things that go into recovery. That lasts so much longer than the peptide does. So you should be able to get huge benefits from it that are lasting. And again, unless you're drinking the alcohol and doing all the wrong things. So
Yeah. Okay, so you just said something that flies so hard in the face of what we believe intervention to be like, which is here's an antidepressant, you need to take it for the rest of your life. Here's a statin, you need to take it for the rest of your life, and nobody ever checks in. Here's an antihypertensive, same thing. So, what you're saying, just so that this is crystal clear, is
mhm.
that if you're doing the other things right around making sure your lifestyle is managed, your environment is managed, your relationships are all the things we're supposed to do. Drink enough water, eat good food, don't hang out with shitty people, and make sure you get enough sleep and movement. Did I cover it all?
Yeah, exactly. The food is the medicine, right? Like your food and your diet should really cover your basis, but a lot of people have just been so depleted that they need these interventional supplements to get them back to that baseline of level of health that then they can maintain by doing all the other things that aren't
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah. And so you're saying we take targeted interventional peptide blends for a short period of time to support the systems and encourage resilience. Yes?
Yes, terrible business model, great for the person though.
Yeah, I've been telling this story recently, but I had a teacher in school in chiropractic college who said, practice like you're trying to put yourself out of business.
Mm.
And I remember hearing her say that, and I thought, oh my God, like that's not a very good business model. Because at that time, all I was doing was accumulating student loans, right? But now, 20 years later, I can tell you that I practice that way. That's the way I prefer to practice because it's just the way I would like to be treated, right? So I so appreciate, Kyal, that you are just speaking that because, like, again, I can feel the heart in it. Right? It's not just a, hey, I'm here to make $1 trillion and then sell the business and move along. That'd be nice too, but you also have to sleep at night, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These everything, the body should just be healthy. That should be our default God-given right, to have a healthy body where we don't need to take all these things. Our diet's clean, our water's clean, but that's not the reality of the world. And that's why
Mhm.
supplements are going to have to be a part of our life. It's
Mhm.
a good business to be in, even if you do have the most noble intentions of making sure that no one needs to keep taking it, because there's just so much disease, so many illnesses out there at the moment that people need support with. So by making things that work, or as a practitioner like yourself, by doing the things that actually help, that
Mhm.
is being the change you want to see in the world. And it's also not going to hurt your business whatsoever, because there's no shortage of people who will get a referral once they see their best friend's life change from the product or from working with you. So
Yes, absolutely. And as practitioners, we don't have competition. What we have is an opportunity to co-care the world, the people as best we can. And I think that's a really important thing to talk about as well. Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
The biggest things that I see that are, the big handbrakes to people's health are environmental toxins, and like supporting liver health is huge. Gut and
Oof.
liver are so interconnected, because if you've got gut issues, as I mentioned, everything's putting burden on the liver. The liver first pass metabolism, and then what the liver's trying to clear out all the hormones, all the metabolites of your estrogens, everything that you're in your body gets dumped back into the gut. But then if you have dysbiosis or leaky gut, then you can have recirculation of those hormones, and that leaky gut can potentiate your hormone issues. So working on the gut secondary to what's in your brain and your stress levels is one of the highest levels of intervention, which then downstream will have a whole heap of benefits for the human.
Wow. Okay, I'm just, this conversation has exceeded my expectations in every way, Kyal. I have learned a ton. I'm not done with you yet, though. I got another question about the GI
Let's go for
repair.
it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Um, KPV. Did you say there was KPV in there?
Yeah, that KPV is an awesome ingredient that I first found out about for mold toxicity and for helping. It's just incredible anti-inflammatory. It's a fragment of alpha MSH, and this is really technical, so apologies if I lose you with this. But alpha MSH is a large peptide made in our body, primarily in our brain. It stands for melanocortin stimulating hormone. It's the melanocortin system, or melanin and melatonin, all of it's interrelated. So alpha MSH, think anti-inflammatory, think sleep and pituitary, and then KPV is a fragment of alpha MSH. When your body makes it, it's going to cleave that parent peptide into a combination of different smaller fragments, KPV being one of them. Incredible anti-inflammatory. It reduces a lot of the pro-inflammatory cytokines, the interleukins, TNF alpha, inhibits NF kappa beta. So if you're a practitioner, you'd love all those words. If you have no idea what they mean, they're just all the baddies that drive chronic inflammation. So that's what KPV does. It's the primary peptide used in mold and detox protocols from people who have been exposed to mold. Dr. Richie Shoemaker, the Shoemaker Protocol, heavily emphasizes how important that alpha MSH is.
Yeah,
So by
yeah.
taking supplemental, injectable, nasal KPV, you're supporting that system, because that will be completely depleted. And without alpha MSH, you're going to have basically unchecked neuroinflammation. So that's why that one's so good. But then KPV is also studied in models of, I think it was Crohn's disease too, to have really potent anti-inflammatory effects in Crohn's. So that mechanism of the anti-inflammatory is broad spectrum. No matter where it gets in the body, it'll elicit the same anti-inflammatory effects, which is why I love it so much personally. And I give these peptides little like nicknames. The lorazepam being the anti-celiac, or KPV I call the anti-mold peptide, even though it does more than just that one.
Wow. The thing about mold, and you will know this as a practitioner that's treated patients with mold, but also had it yourself, is that it is a pain in the ass to treat. There is nothing easy. There is nothing fast about it. In fact, you can't go fast with it because you can get even sicker with the mycotoxins, as we talked about earlier. But it's just, I mean, thankfully we have the shoemaker protocol and the practitioners that know what to do with that. But there's just not enough, and there's not enough awareness of what happens with the mold. So I'm personally happy to see that you chucked that in there and hope that it would, you know, okay, that seems like a disrespectful term, but let me just say this. When I was
Absolutely.
looking at the formulation, I have formulated some of my own supplements, just a few. I had to do something during the COVID time because I was taking so many pills. And I said to my husband, I said, my God, I'm taking so much stuff because I was actively seeing patients during that time. I said, this is crazy. Can't somebody just put it in one pill? And he said, don't you know the people that can do that? I was like, oh yeah, right. I could do that.
Exact logic I have. Every single, like I have a liver support product. It was all the ingredients, the NACs, the glycines, the seleniums, molybdenums, all the things I was using to detox my own mold. They worked. So I'm like, great, that was annoying. Let's just make it easier and put it into one product.
Yes, and that's what I can see. There's some real thought and science and practitioner awareness that has gone into the level up formulations that I have seen. I can see how each individual ingredient has been thought through, and that's you. That's on you. Yes.
Yeah, I formulate all of them. I just look at the end result. What are we trying to achieve? And then you find the ingredients that fit up to 3 to 5 mechanisms that are all synergistic to get that effect.
I love that. I love it when us practitioners do the formulations because you can actually see the patient experience and awareness behind the creation of these particular ingredients lists. So thank you for that. That's it's a beautiful thing.
Silver linings to the things I've been through. The cancer taught me so much about mitochondrial health and energy and gut health. And then the mold taught me about histamine intolerance, SIRS, hormone imbalances. I had to make a testosterone booster after living in mold because it tanked my testosterone levels. And then my estrogen levels were way too high. And mold acts like estrogen in your body too. Zearalenone is one of the ones that was elevated. And that is, what they call it, a mycoestrogen, so a mold that binds to estrogen and can cause huge estrogen dominance issues in men and women. I actually ended up developing a small bit of gynecomastia from the mold,
Is that
which,
right?
yeah, it was very annoying
Wow.
because my T
Yeah, I
was
bet
going
it.
up, but then
Yeah.
aromatase was absolutely cranking from the mold too. And then, estrogen was too high already. So, yeah, I ended up having horrible mold estrogen issues from the mold too. Did all the Dutch testing and it showed
Yeah.
obviously methylation and supporting that as
Sure.
best you can too was something I had to do. But yeah, the mold having estrogen-like effects in the body was horrible. But then also the biggest challenge from the mold personally was by reducing that alpha MSH, which mold does to the point where you almost have none of it left. One of the other peptide fragments from alpha MSH is called PT141. And if you've never heard of that, it's called Lady Viagra because it works on libido in your brain. It doesn't do anything for the downstairs department for men, but it works on sexual arousal and sex drive. With alpha MSH being depleted, PT141 was depleted too. My sex drive combined with the high estrogen and the low T was just dead.
Yeah.
At 30
Wow.
years old, how ridiculous. That's like when it should be
Yeah.
peaked. So
Well, and that's what I was going to say. For those of you that are listening to this rather than watching Kyle and I have a conversation, Kyle is a young man. So this is a shocking thing. I mean, we can hear your kiddos in the background having a good time. So
yeah,
we
well,
know,
the
yeah,
test booster worked well.
I guess so. I guess so. Okay. What was the thing that you just said killed your libido, the absence of it? What did you call it?
Oh, PT
Yeah.
141. It's used as
Okay.
a nasal spray alongside oxytocin. You might be able to find the combination of those for improving sex drive and libido, which is
Okay.
something that does drop off with age. So it's a nice
Yes.
little biohack. It's definitely not an interventional thing. It's more of an experiential thing to take those two.
Interesting. Okay. And certainly we are talking to menopausal and perimenopausal women, so libido is an issue. It does come up quite often. Mycoestrogen, I had never heard that before. Wow, you're bringing the goods today, friend.
I better quit while I'm ahead.
Yes, I would say so. My God, please no. Okay, what's next for Level Up? What are you thinking in terms of formulas next?
Well, this is probably not of huge interest to your audience, but I'll get to something that will be later. But the next step for me is I'm trying to get into the performance market for all the pre-workouts and stuff. No one's doing them right. All they're doing is burning out people's adrenals. So we're going to try and bring in some adaptogens, some B vitamins, all the things that support the body, leave you better off than for taking it than all these other ones which leave you worse off. So that's the short term. Creatines, absolutely love creatine so much. It supports everyone. It's probably like an essential nutrient. Technically, I reckon you could say that and get away with that. So we're
I
doing,
think so.
yeah. So creatine, and then the precursor to creatine, which we use, is called GAA, and that's 4 times more effective than creatine for the brain, which is awesome for cognition and for prevention of neurodegenerative conditions. Those are two things that I'm focusing on. But my partner and I have been working on for 3.5 years. We're trying to bring out a peptide-based skincare company. So that's very
That's
hard
exciting.
compared to putting peptides in a capsule, making it smell good, making it stable, making it synergize with all the other stuff, being aware of oily skin and dry skin and all that sort of stuff. It's a pain in the butt, but once we get it out, it will be phenomenal. And yeah, hopefully we're trying to revolutionize skincare because there's a big focus on people not being enough or having to turn to Botox and fillers and all the things that are, one of these straws that break the camel's back for people's health a lot of the time. So providing a peptide alternative to those things is, I believe, really needed at this stage in the world with, I guess, so much focus on aesthetics.
Amazing. Well, we do talk about GHKCU in a skincare on this show. I've also used the peptide injectable GHKCU, and one of the things I found most interesting about that, for skin, actually, I'm vain enough and 52 enough that I went, okay, let's try that. Let's start there. So I didn't start with BPC. I started with the vanity ones. But what I found interesting was that I did notice certainly that my skin was improved, but my cognition was so much better. And I was like, hold on a minute, what's happening here? Like, this is when I started to become aware that injecting a peptide for what you think you're injecting it for, and then you
Mm.
get all these other benefits that happen. And of course, you and I see that phenomenon with our patients. We see, okay, we're treating something over here, but then something over here is much better. And then you go, oh, right, we're dealing with these, complex biochemical cascades.
Yeah,
And
yeah. GHK is a fantastic gateway one too, and it's one that's easy to get because in cosmetics versus in supplements and injectables, it's quite available now. Whether if your product is blue, like really blue, then it's in that at a decent enough dosage. But
yeah.
like you would have felt the anti-inflammatory, antioxidant effects of it. It's fantastic it's in GI repair too. Just as a side note, I put it in there because it helps activate intestinal stem cells. That's part of its anti-aging effect. Is where you deliver this peptide, it will activate stem cells. So it's fantastic for anti-aging and longevity and aesthetics and collagen. It's awesome. I love GHK.
Okay, you seriously have made the best formula right there. I mean, it covers not just GI, but all these things. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Well,
Yes, go ahead.
that we get into the kinetics thing again. Like putting it in a gut repair product means it's gonna work locally on the gut to activate the intestinal stem cells. Some of it will trickle through into systemic circulation, but primarily most of the peptide, be it BPC, GHK, KPV, will work locally in the gut. So if you do want to maximize the benefits of GHK, we have it in isolation as a liposomal form. And the liposomal form has changed it from working locally to getting shuttled in through the liposomes through the fat to being a systemic form of that. So if you're wanting the anti-aging and the skin within effects, then the liposomal GHK, which we have, is the better way to achieve that. Or you can do the skin from external internal. Doing it topically as well is fantastic. It's small enough to cross through the dermal layers of the skin and activate the deeper layers, absorb into the deeper dermal layers, and then restore elastin and collagen networks and
Mm.
make you look beautiful.
Which, of course, we lose these things as we lose our estrogen. The collagen goes away, the elastin goes away, or at least it declines quite a bit, and we don't have the same cellular turnover. So I love this part of the conversation. My Listeners love the skincare conversation, Kyal. So when you are ready to talk about the skincare, you let me know. I'll bring you back on the show. We'll have this conversation because it's a big one.
If I'm not talking about it in 4 months, then I'm almost at breaking point. We're bringing these products out. It's been so long. We were meant to have launched last year, but we got to get these perfect. So
Yes, yes, and I appreciate that. And I can, as I said before, I can feel the science and the soul of the practitioner in your formulas, and I can also feel your heart having this conversation with you today. So I thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared. I know this will be so helpful for so many women listening to this conversation who have gut issues, which there's many of us, so many of us, and there's really nothing. Medicine doesn't give us anything to heal that. They don't. It's crazy, but here in Canada, this is true. If you get a Crohn's diagnosis, you're not even told about food intolerances or what things to stay away from. You're just told, here's the medication, take it for the rest of your life, you'll be fine. So, having these tools available to us really helpful.
that's why I do it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, keep it up. So, where can people find out more about you and Level Up Health?
Yeah, so I'm basically just on Instagram and the website. I'm not super out there yet. I'm hoping to launch a podcast next year, but we'll save that for the next one when the skincare's out. What that's called, but
Yes.
yeah, LVLUP Health is the website and the Instagram. We dropped the E's out of Level Up, and yeah, most of everything we put out is through those two.
Amazing. I'll make sure your website is linked in the show notes as well. And you've just delivered just this masterclass on peptides today, and certainly health, gut health peptides. But you and I aren't surprised that means brain health too. Anytime we're working with the gut, we're working with the brain. Those two things go hand in hand. So,
Oh
th-
yeah, I don't think we've got time to go into all the brain peptides that we've A
oh,
got already, or B that are in the pipeline. So neurological health's huge to me. I need it for these exact conversations, for doing the
yes,
research, and mold ruined my brain too. So
yes,
and the chronic fatigue. So brain health is something I think everyone can immediately benefit from. It will upgrade your life having a proper functioning brain. So yeah, we'll get into that
yes.
today maybe.
Yes, I love that idea because that's my fellowship training is functional neurology. So I fix broken brains. That's what I do in
Oh,
the office. So
amazing.
yeah, we can have a robust conversation about that. And I would love to have you back on the show to talk about that because this is the whole nootropics conversation, is it not?
I love them. Yeah, I live on them basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you're right, mold breaks the brain. Like it literally, you're just, nothing's there. You open your mouth and everything that you've learned, everything that's in the brain, it's just gone. So I
It's a
wonder how,
horrible feeling. It really is. You feel like you're an idiot or there's something wrong with you until you realize, oh no, it's just mold. Okay, I forgive myself now.
yeah. And you realize it's not about you haven't failed in some way. Sometimes I wonder, again, this will be part of are we going to talk about skincare next or are we going to talk about the brain next, Kyle? That will be it. Just depends
We'll,
on the timeline.
we'll talk about the brain if the skincare is still going. That'll
That that's
anyway.
that's fair. That's fair. Okay, I have a final question I ask all my guests, and I'd like to ask you now. Please have some fun with it. So, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
Live more. Don't. Oh, I guess the issue that I had with my mum, and part of the reason I'm here, is I just didn't do anything. My 20s were just research, podcasts, audiobooks, never went out with my friends. Having looked back and seen how much of life I miss with that, just don't sweat the small stuff all the time. Trying to be perfect just results in you being further away from perfect than you. So enjoy life, have the tools to remedy the bad choices that you should probably make once or twice in your life. And yeah, just live a good life and a long life.
Mm, great advice. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Fiona. Lovely to chat with you.
Same. The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.